I finally understand the hype behind Symphony of the Night. I've actually owned the game for years, and I got it from my dad, like a hand-me-down from his old PS1, and I just did not like the game at all. I didn't have a memory card, so that's a big deal when you're playing a game that you're gonna just die in over and over. So I never really got far past the prologue, and the only reason I even got past the prologue is because you literally can't die. You know, Maria comes in there and she saves you, and you become invincible. Well, I pretty much, you know, got to like the alchemy lab and that was it. Just could not get past it, could never beat the first boss. I don't even think I saw the first boss until I played it a few months ago. Funny enough, I just couldn't get into the game before. I tried playing it before. I bought it on my phone, iPhone. Like I said, I've owned it for years and I just couldn't get into it. For some reason, when I got this though, I just got addicted to playing in it. You know, and I just want to talk about that. I want to do like a quick unboxing and just kind of showing the artwork on the case and the manual, because it is complete and boxed. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna do this every single time, but since I own the game and it's pretty expensive, I just kind of want to show the artwork and stuff like that. So yeah, first off, I just love the box art, other than like this greatest hits on the spine. But yeah, flipping it over, you just see like a couple of screenshots of some different areas of the game, and I feel like if you were to pick this game up off the shelf whenever you first see it, it kind of makes you just want to play it. And it's crazy too, because it says there's over 140 different enemies, bosses, and ghastly creatures. Awesome magical spells, transform into a bat, wolf, ethereal mist, hidden weapons, secrets, characters, the largest Castlevania ever. And it's funny too to go back and see mind-blowing 32-bit special effects, because I don't even think people talk about bits anymore. Opening up the case, if I can get it open. You see Silent Hill's coming soon, yeah. So the disc is a little scratched up, you can't really see it. It's kind of funny to look back and see these PS1 games in these CD cases, but yeah, you got a nice little like artwork of Alucard on it. I think everybody's seen that. That's pretty popular. But yeah, and then you see the Silent Hill coming soon. Yeah, 1997, that's crazy. It's just the table of contents here. Showing you how to use the console and the controller and everything like that. And then here we go into a little bit more with like Richter, showing how to use some of his special attacks, the whip, and all that. So that's really cool, and we got some cool artwork with him on there. Over here we got Alucard, and it's basically showing about the same thing as it is with him, you know. Some of his special effects and just how to use like the map and stuff like that. You go to the next page, you see like the prologue with some like cool artwork of like the moon and the castle over there. I think that's really cool. And this is where I really like, actually. It kind of makes me miss having like the manuals, because you just see like this awesome You just see like this awesome artwork in these manuals, and it's crazy. It says estimated to be 400 years old. You know, it just goes into a little bit of detail about like who each character is. Yeah, see like the artwork with like death and stuff is like crazy, and Count Dracula, like they put a lot of work into this. And then it shows like how to start the game. I guess if you don't really know how to do that. Rules, if you want to read that, you can. You know, it talks about like the HUD, what the hearts are, because the hearts aren't actually health on this game. You know, HP, MP, the status menu, because you know, this was the first Castlevania where you actually had like a menu system. You know, it goes into items, types of weapons, relics, which are, you know, gives you the ability to like see the enemies. And then, you know, we got Leapstone and Soul of Bat and all the other relics over here. Special weapons that actually have been in the other games, spells, and it's cool too, because I didn't even know about these spells my first playthrough until I came back and saw somebody using them during like a speed run. Shows you different rooms. Yeah, and then right there it says final stage bloodlines and stuff like that. The long library, and then I guess that's that area right there is actually where you can write down notes or something like that. Just because there's so much in the game to keep up with, and then I ought to try to call that helpline and see what happens. But yeah, that's pretty basic, but it's still pretty cool to come and look back at it in all of its glory. So I'm not going to go through every little detail. It's going to be more of like my general experiences of the game and just talking about that. I want to try not to spoil the game too much. Yeah, I know the game's like 25 years old now, but funny enough, most of the game wasn't even spoiled for me. I pretty much went into this completely blind, and I think that kind of heightened the experience. So I'm not really going to do any spoilers as far as like everything happens. I'll mention the inverted castle, just because I think that's something that you should experience. I might not tell you how it happens exactly, but you play as Alucard, and you know, even as a kid, I love the intro of him just running through the woods and like the wind just howling. The graphics are like beautiful, honestly. Like the presentation just of the intro, it sets the mood immediately and just perfectly. And I remember thinking this game was going to be really easy because at the prologue, you can't die no matter how bad you are at the game, which, you know, you're going to be bad at first. Or not. It takes a little while to get used to. And I remember just like going through the game at first and one-shotting these wolves and these skeletons or zombies or whatever. And then I'm like, wow, this is going to be really easy. And it's like death comes and takes all your shit away. And then you're basically starting from the bottom, like Drake. 21, do your thing, 21. And, you know, you're weak and the game's a lot tougher now. And this is like kind of where the light RPG mechanics of the game come in. And, you know, you're killing enemies, leveling up, you're finding weapons, health, MP containers, gear, and I'll be honest, I like being able to find all these different weapons, the gear and the spells instead of the whip only. I actually went back and I tried to play some of the older Castlevania titles. I went far back too. I played the original. I did not beat it. It's a difficult game, honestly. It's a lot harder than Symphony of the Night. Not to say that Symphony of the Night isn't challenging. It's just different, you know? But yeah, I went back and I played Super Castlevania some. I got kind of far in that game. It's a good game. And Rondo of Blood, I played that on the Mii Mini as well, the Japanese version, which they have like a US version now. And funny enough, this game starts off after the end of Rondo of Blood. And that's why you're playing as Richter and stuff like that. And you're fighting Dracula again. So, but anyways, yeah, I went back and I tried to play these other ones, and I just don't like the limitations, you know? And that's not to say they're a bad game. I just prefer the Metroidvania, you know, light RPG mechanics, pretty much due to the fact that you get to find different weapons, gear, and spells, and they all have different effects. So it kind of changes the way that you play the game. And I actually found this crazy weapon called like the Chrysogrim or something like that. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but it's like a sword that is like a crazy attack. And you might go like the entire game and never find it. I mean, it's a pretty rare weapon, and I feel like this kind of makes you want to explore a little bit more and like, you know, hit and knock down these walls or just look through every like nook and cranny just to find these different weapons, because it's not like you're just getting a sword and it's just a little stronger or something like that. It's like sometimes these weapons just have completely different abilities than you would even expect, and it's awesome. But yeah, it's like, I feel like that gives you replayability as well, because you could go through the game twice and not find everything. And like, I had no idea what the library card did the entire game. And the only reason I even figured it out is because when I was speedrunning, they used a library card all the time. It sends you back to the library, so it kind of like, if you're wanting to get to that side of the map a little quicker, you can just use it anywhere. And, you know, I ended up not using any of them. I bought some of them and I found them, and I'm just like, you know, I don't even know what this does. And then, of course, one of the biggest secrets that's not as much of a secret now is the inverted castle. I mean, you could sit here and beat half of the game, you know, quotations, and not even know that there's a secret ending, because the game doesn't really tell you. And I think that's a good and a bad thing, because you're kind of left to experience it on your own and to kind of find out, you know, what's going on in the castle. So it's like, it makes things more mysterious. Just like it said on the back of the case, you know, it's saying uncover the mystery of Castlevania. And it's like, the way that the game was created, everything is a mystery. So it's for you to find out. And I did find myself though getting lost like a few times and wondering where to go. And I did watch a few guides, but that was basically for like time restraint reasons and stuff like that. I don't have a lot of time, and I didn't want to sit here and, you know, wander around, you know, for maybe hours trying to figure out where to go. But I mean, for the most part, I feel like things are pretty intuitive though. You know, you go to like a dead end and you might not know where to go next, but you know, you might see like a blue door, and then you buy something from the librarian that lets you open the blue doors, and you just kind of make like a mental note saying, you know, hey, I need to go back here. And you know, maybe that'll help you progress. And there's all kinds of things, like getting the mist form and having to go through, you know, like these bars, or getting the bat and being able to fly places. It's for you to figure out, you know. And even then, you know, after wandering around a little bit, I still finished the game at like 10 hours, which in my opinion, I think that's perfect, because a lot of games now are like 80 hours and I'm just never going to finish them, even if they're really good games like Elden Ring, you know. And I think I spent 40 hours on the game. I never saw the ending, and there's just so many other games coming out. It's nice to actually get to finish a game completely. But yeah, and I think that's a big reason why this game deserves praise too, is because it's focused and it's not bloated with a bunch of like bullcrap filler. It's like, it knows exactly what it wants to be, and it just focuses on every little detail in every part of the map, as far as like, you know, the enemies that you encounter and the different areas, and it's just so focused to the point where it's not like you're going and doing some bullcrap side quests or something like that. I don't know. But, you know, the game never really made me ask, you know, like, why am I doing this? I felt excited and enticed to go and look in all these different areas and to go back and backtrack. And that's also due to, like, good gameplay elements, not even the beautiful crafted environments and, like, these awesome soundtracks with different ones. It's like, the gameplay holds up so well. Like, you would not even think that this game is 25 years old. It's so fluid, and I honestly had no problems with any of the core mechanics of the game. I felt like if I wanted Alucard to do something, he would do it exactly how I wanted, and if he didn't, it was a problem on my part. So it's like, you know, this game's polished, and that's not to say there aren't glitches and stuff like that, but there's not going to be really any that I found that I ran into. And that's crazy, because nowadays games are constantly put out and they're not finished, you know. I mean, games are a lot bigger now, but at the same time, I mean, this is a big game, you know. It's a big game. And it's just crazy to think it's 25 years old and it still holds up as if it came out last week. I mean, seriously, it's not 100% perfect, of course. I mean, there's certain things I did hate, like the death sequence. Oh my god, you're gonna die a lot. So it's like, instead of just, you know, sending you back to the place you last saved, you have to go through this terrible death sequence. And it's like, you gotta watch this game over screen, and then you go back to the main menu, and then you load your save, and then you finally get back into the game. That can be a little tedious. But, you know, and one other thing too, well, two other things actually, gripes that I have, is the healing. I don't know why you have to equip a turkey and then throw it to heal yourself. Like, I wish I could just click on it and say use item or something like that, and then go on with it, because I don't want to have to equip and then unequip constantly and be in the menus constantly, which, you know, it's, like I said, there's more pros that outweigh the cons. Other than the Medusa heads, I have no excuse. I don't know what the hell somebody was thinking when they created those things. I cannot stand those things. And sometimes they'll constantly hit you as well, and it's like, you'll get stuck in this, like, you'll get stuck where you're just getting hit over and over, and like, you can't move. And, you know, like, sometimes that's my fault, and sometimes I feel like it could be the game's fault, but I'm probably just bad, you know. I don't play a lot of games like this, but now I do. I've literally been going through all the Metroidvania styled ones now. I played Circle of the Moon, which was, it was alright. I played Harmony of Despair, I believe is what it's called. That one was pretty good. You know, Aria of Sorrow, these are all on the Game Boy, and then they have the DS ones. I'm playing through those too. I'm literally obsessed, and that's why I've chose to speedrun this game, is just because I want to play it more. And I'd like to put a video out of that soon. But also, before I forget, even like in the menus, before you even start the game, there's like secrets. You can enter in like a code for luck mode, axe armor, playing as Richter. There might be some other ones too. And then there's like a version I think maybe on PS4 where you get to play as Maria, and you can actually beat the whole game as Richter. I'm not 100% if you can do everything since Alucard, has the bat and stuff like that. But as far as Richter, I think it makes the game a little harder. You play with him with the whip, and you don't get any like power ups. Or, he has his power ups from the beginning of the game, like his blade dash and all that kind of stuff. But you're not like getting weapons or anything like that. But it's cool because it just gives you another reason to play the game and play it completely differently. And oh yeah, the bosses. Like I said on the back of the case, over 140 different enemies, and that's just crazy. Because nowadays it's like, and I know I keep saying this nowadays, but it's like, this is what I have to compare it to is present day. You're playing these games and they're just so focused on making the world as big as possible, and there's no detail really in it. It feels so barren, and it's like you feel like you're just fighting the same freaking 10 enemies, even if that, over and over. So it's like, for this game to have so much variety, so much love and color, and like so many different bosses is just crazy. 140 different bosses, and even some of them, like the dudes that wear the axe armor, like the blue and the green, they have different attack styles and attack patterns. And even when the inverted castle comes, there's different enemies and they're more difficult. There's different bosses. There's optional bosses that you might not find your first playthrough. I mean, dude, it is insane. And I'm not trying to overly hype the game up. I genuinely really, really enjoyed it. I just honestly think that everyone should play it. At the beginning, it's going to be maybe a little intimidating just because it takes a little getting used to. And I think that's why it took a while for me to actually enjoy the game, is because I didn't give it a shot, really. I played it for a little bit, but you have to play, I would say, at least 2 hours just to really get the experience of the game, to see, what it really has to offer, because it has a lot to offer. And I don't think that you'll regret that at all. But like I said, I don't want to spoil the game too much. I don't want to spoil the story. The story's not really like a major factor in the game. It's a very interesting story, but it seems like the story sometimes is almost second nature. And it seems like the main factor is the exploration. And I think that's where the game really shines, because that's what you're doing most of the game, is exploring. And it's like, the game is just set up so well, and give it a go, seriously. Ka-chow.